This is the Ears Up English podcast. English that grows with you. Welcome to Ears Up English, where your listening becomes stronger and your speaking becomes smoother. If English still feels scary or stressful for you, don't worry. We're here to help you enjoy English without fear. Strong ears, strong English. Now, let's begin today's episode.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Robert. Thanks for joining us today.
Before we started recording, I stopped by a cafe and honestly, it felt a little busy out there. Even finding a seat took a bit of energy and I could feel my shoulders creeping up.
I totally get that. Just being around crowds can turn up the volume in your head. On days like that, you sit down with your drink and you finally feel your breathing slow down.
Exactly, and then something funny happened. The table next to me suddenly burst out laughing and I was not even part of the conversation, but I still wanted to laugh with them. The words I caught did not sound hard, but the reason it was funny just slipped past me, you know?
Yeah, that one beat late feeling can be so annoying. It is like you understand the meaning, but the angle is slightly off, and the conversation moves on right away, so you're left with that little hook in your mind.
So today, I want to untangle that hook in a casual way. We're not doing a lecture, we're just chatting like we're still at that cafe. Our topic is how English jokes work, and we're going to focus on wordplay jokes called puns.
I like that. Puns can sound serious, but the idea is pretty simple. A lot of the time, it's basically the English version of a dad joke, so please relax and have fun with it.
When you think of it as a dad joke, it becomes way less scary. A pun plays with a small twist, like the same sound, the same spelling, or a word with two meanings. When you notice the twist, you get that little click in your brain, and you kind of smile.
Right. It's more like a moment of noticing than a big story. In normal conversation, you pick one meaning and keep going, and that's efficient. With a pun, it can help to keep two meanings side by side for a second. Just in your head.
And I do the normal thing all the time. My brain tries to take the shortest path, so I lock onto one meaning and move on. That's why jokes can slide right past, because I don't give myself that tiny sideways look.
That sideways look is the key, and it doesn't have to be slow. You don't need to pause the whole conversation. You just take a quick mental detour. When you do that, the joke often becomes obvious.
To make that detour easier, we'll use 3 labels today. They are homophones, homographs, and then the big group called homonyms. The names look similar, but the idea is simple. It's about words that look the same or sound the same while meaning something different.
Let's start with homophones. That's when two words sound the same but have different meanings. In fast conversation, you can miss the second meaning because your ears give you only one sound.
A classic example is the baker joke. People often say something like, I used to be a baker, but I couldn't make enough dough. Dough can mean bread dough, and it can also mean money, so the sentence carries 2 tracks at once.
So on the surface, it sounds like a baker who can't make dough, which is already funny in a plain way. But the real twist is they couldn't make enough money. It's not about hard vocabulary, it's about opening the second drawer in your mind.
I did not open that second drawer the first time I heard it. I only thought about bread, so it just felt like a normal sentence and I moved on. Later, when I learned dough can mean money, the click finally happened. And honestly, I felt a little annoyed at myself.
That late click is actually a good sign. It means your brain built a new connection, and now you'll notice it faster next time. And because nobody stops to explain a joke in real life, that later moment of understanding is super common.
With homophones, the trick is not to overthink. You just ask yourself, does this word have another meaning? And you glance to the side for 1 second. That's enough to make the second meaning show up more often.
Another short one people often say is, I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down. Put down can mean place something on a table, and it can mean stop reading. When you keep both meanings in your head, it suddenly feels very clean.
And the vibe is not fancy, it's just playful. In Japanese, it feels like a simple pun you hear from an older uncle, and that's exactly why it's so easy to enjoy. If you expect deep comedy, you might miss how small the twist is.
Now homographs, that's when the spelling is the same but the meaning is different, and sometimes the pronunciation changes too. These often hit harder when you see them written because your eyes notice the same shape twice.
A famous one is, I have a fear of speed bumps, but I'm slowly getting over it. Get over it can mean recover from a fear, and it can literally mean go over a speed bump. It looks like a normal sentence, and then the second meaning sneaks in.
That's why this type can be easy to miss. It reads like a simple lifeline, and then you realize there's a double meaning hiding inside it. It's not always a loud laugh, it's more of a quiet grin.
And sometimes you don't notice it in the moment. You might hear it and think, oh, that's a nice sentence, and that's it. But when you learn the pattern, you can catch it later and still enjoy the twist.
Another strong written example is the bandage was wound around the wound. The spelling is the same, but one wound is the past tense of wind and the other wound is an injury. When you see it, your brain kind of trips for a second, and that trip is the joke.
If you only hear it, you might lock onto one meaning and never see the second. That's why subtitles can help, and it's not cheating at all. Sometimes the visual form is what makes the joke visible.
And then we have homonyms, which is the bigger bucket. It includes cases like homophones and homographs, and it basically means the same word form can carry different meanings. The key idea is that one word is doing two jobs.
This is where that super famous one lives. People often say something like, time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like a banana. The first time you hear it, you're like, why are we suddenly talking about insects and fruit? And your brain pauses.
Because flies can mean move through the air and it can mean the insect, and like can mean similar to and it can mean enjoy. The sentence structure flips, so if you try to read it as one straight line, you get lost.
Here's a common mistake, and I do it too. You hear the line, you translate it seriously, and once it kind of makes sense, you stop. But with puns, the joke often starts after that, when you look for the second meaning.
A better move is simple. When you feel a joke vibe, you tap the brakes for 1 second. You ask, is there another meaning here? And if you don't find it, you just keep the conversation moving.
That distance helps a lot. You don't have to laugh every time, and you don't have to react perfectly. In real life, plenty of jokes get a small smile and then everyone moves on. So you can do the same.
Think about daily situations like chatting at work or talking to someone next to you while traveling. If someone throws a playful line and you go silent, the air can feel a bit stuck. So it helps to have a gentle escape line ready.
For example, you can say, that's a funny way to say it, and keep going. Or you can say, that sounds like wordplay, and then switch back to the weather or food. That kind of light move keeps the rhythm smooth.
And it also helps to know where you can stop. A joke often ends after one back and forth, and that's totally natural. You don't have to dig into it like a lesson. You can just let it pass and move on.
A practical habit you can copy is a quick rephrase. You don't translate word for word, you just say what you noticed in your own words. That makes it easy for the other person to respond, and it keeps the chat alive.
For the dough joke, you might say, oh, so dough can mean money too. That's not showing off, it's sharing a small discovery, and people usually respond warmly to that kind of reaction.
Now, let's hear a short dialogue with Ben and Kaori. They're not teaching anything, they're just talking like normal friends, and the jokes naturally pop in. Notice how they start with their daily mood and then the wordplay slides in.
Today felt crowded everywhere. The station, the shops, all of it. I was standing in line at a cafe, half asleep, just staring at the donuts. And for some reason I thought, I used to be a baker, but I could not make enough dough.
And that took me a second. I heard bread first, and then my brain switched to money. That kind of dumb twist actually works on a day like this.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even plan it, it just slips out, and then you move on.
Right. I had a moment like that on the train. I was reading and thought, this book is impossible to put down.
That one is perfect. It sounds normal, and then it quietly flips. That's all you need.
That felt light, right? They started with a real daily mood, crowds, and tiredness, so the jokes didn't feel random, and they didn't turn the jokes into a lecture. They just let the wordplay sit there and move on.
Yeah, and notice how their quick agreement added feeling, not just a handoff. When Kaori said her brain stops for a second, she was sharing a real reaction. That kind of small honesty makes the conversation feel human and easy.
Also, their timing was simple. One joke, one response, and then they either add another or they stop, and both options feel normal. That's a useful idea because you don't need to stretch a joke into a long discussion.
If you want to copy the pattern, start with a tiny daily opener. It can be the weather, the crowd, your sleep, or your energy, and then you add one light line. If a playful line comes back, you can stay in that playful lane for a moment and then return to the normal topic.
And if you do not catch the joke, you can still keep the rhythm. You can say, "That is a funny way to say it," or "That sounds like wordplay," and then you keep going. The goal is not perfect understanding. It is a smooth, friendly flow.
One more thing that helps is giving yourself permission to stop. With wordplay, you can notice the switch and then move on. You do not have to solve it on the spot, and you can always enjoy the click later.
Let's hear the same dialogue one more time. When you hear it twice, you often notice the switch faster the second time. Try listening with a softer focus and see if the double meanings pop more easily.
Today felt crowded everywhere. The station, the shops, all of it. I was standing in line at a cafe, half asleep, just staring at the donuts. And for some reason I thought, I used to be a baker, but I could not make enough dough.
And that took me a second. I heard bread first, and then my brain switched to money. That kind of dumb twist actually works on a day like this.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even plan it. It just slips out, and then you move on.
Right. I had a moment like that on the train. I was reading and thought, this book is impossible to put down.
That one is perfect. It sounds normal, and then it quietly flips. That's all you need.
As we think back on this, English jokes are often built on puns. A pun uses a small twist, like the same sound, the same spelling, or a word with two meanings. When you keep that in mind, you stop trying to force one meaning and you start noticing the playful switch. We talked about 3 helpful labels too. Homophones are words that sound the same but mean different things. Homographs are words that are spelled the same but mean different things, and sometimes they're even pronounced differently.
And homonyms is the bigger bucket that includes those kinds of overlaps. Dough can be bread, dough, and money. Put down can be place it down and stop reading. And get over it can be emotional and literal at the same time. When you have a little time, it can be fun to replay a line and see where the switch happened.
If you feel like trying this today, start with a simple daily opener. You can mention the weather, the crowd, or how your day feels, and then add one light line. If you notice a pun, great, and if you miss it, you can still keep the chat smooth.
And if a joke pops into your mind, please share it in the comments. Short ones are perfect, and even a classic one is totally welcome. We would love to see your dad joke collection grow.
I'm excited to read them. Sometimes one person's joke becomes another person's little click moment. That's a pretty nice way to keep the conversation going.
All right, everyone, that's today's episode of Ears Up English. Strong ears, strong English. Keep training your ears every day. Try the ideas from today's episode and see how they change your conversations. We'd love to hear how it works for you. And if you enjoy our podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new episode. Join us again next time for more friendly, everyday English. Take care and keep your ears up. Bye.